Meanwhile, on the Supreme Executive Chairman's Drek flagship.
Back so soon?
Oh, you're talking to me.
I'm not in the habit of talking to myself, you buffoon. Did you get rid of them?
Yes. No. Well, I had this plan, and I thought...
You thought? You thought?
Yeah, this cutscene serves to establish the fact that, again, Qwark is still an asshole, and as, has done Villainous actions, but rather than actually having a complex scheme to take over the war, he's really just selfish and wants to have fame and glory.
I want results! Now get out of
Drek is a more straightforward type of bad guy.
In a sense, they're kind of like a villainous counterpart to Ratchet and Clank. Qwark being in it for more selfish reasons, and Drek is the genius of the two, in the sense where he definitely is directive in his methods.
Alright, we're on Batalia, so let's hear our briefing.
Add attention, you deserting maggot! The next time you soldiers try to go AWOL, I'll shoot you myself!
Look, I just want to...
Zip it, worm! You see those bombers? If you don't get to the turrets and knock those ships out of the sky, this whole planet's gonna be
well, I bet he just met...
Meet me at the city entrance!
He needs our help. Yeah? Why don't you go help him? Into another trap? Well, go on. Go fight some evil.
At least I'm not a coward.
Whatever. As soon as I find Qwark, I'm selling you for scrap.
Alright, again...
Marty McFly much?
What a charmer.
You can still, like I said, you can still see the Spyro influence a bit, because again, this reminds me a bit of, I think it's called Zephyr, that war in Spyro 2, where, it's constant war between the worms and the birds.
I mean, I'm not asking for a goody two-shoes act or anything, it's just kind of going to the opposite extreme.
I mean, again, like, Ratchet's a bit of a jerk, yes, but again, that's supposed to be part of his arc in that regard. And, like, again, to Ratchet's credit, Clank really did nearly get them killed, so he has every right to be pissed about the situation.
Not to mention, Clank is not exactly a saint either, because, like I've said, Clank has been basically bossing Ratchet around with not really any right to do so. So
it's like what I've said with it's like what I said in Hook. Yes, there is merit to having a hero start off not being that heroic, but if you go too far in that direction, I'm like, you know what, fuck this guy, he's just a jackass, I don't give a shit what he does.
Well,
I guess different strokes for different folks. I don't think we're to that point with Ratchet. Like, sure, he said he'd sell Clank for scrap, but A, I think that's just Ratchet sort of, shooting the breeze, essentially. And B, again, Clank was kind of a jerk to Ratchet, too, pretty much telling Ratchet everything of what to do, and what was the result of that? It nearly got them killed. Like, I will say, I get why Ratchet is as ticked about the whole situation as he is.
I think the big difference with that, however, is that Clank was not doing that out of actually wanting to be actually pissed at Ratchet, but he was genuinely motivated by selflessness, which is...
Oh, yes! I mean, yes, he was motivated by selfless nature, but as far as Ratchet is concerned, he still was doing something he didn't want to, and it nearly got them killed.
Well, you have to remember how things started. The Ratchet took advantage of the situation because he wanted to get out of Welding nonetheless.
Halt! Who are you? What are you doing?
We are on a mission to save the galaxy.
Speak for yourself and put your hands down. You look ridiculous.
Actually, I don't care who you are. I've got to get the heck out of here. I joined the army to get money to go to college. I never knew I'd end up in a war. Go figure.
This is a noble cause, sir.
Noble my hiney. I just want to get home to my family. Here, I pulled this off a busted robot.
Alright, there's whatever all about, but of course, we have to pay for it. Well, at least
it's only,
it's only 2,000 volts at the very least.
Whatever.
And this guy literally is a deserter like we were being accused of.
Executive Chairman Drek. As you can see, we're about to test our newest automated pilot's helmet.
A Blarg testing facility near a volcano. I'm pretty sure this violates some OSHA regulations.
Theo, it's outer space. We don't have OSHA here.
Well,
We still have a few minor
In space, no one can
adjustments.
hear you try and sue.
Oh, if they ever get the kinks worked out of that thing, I have
Just a
got to
few.
get me one of those.
If they are working for Chairman Drek, they may know where he is.
Is that all you can think about? Drek this and Drek that? I got my own problems.
If you cannot see the importance of this situation, you do have problems.
Yeah? Well, if you're so smart, how come you fell for Qwark's stupid trick? Ah, forget it. We both need to get to this planet, and that's all that matters.
It was kind of an obvious trap.
Let me put it. Let's go at it this way, Dwes, because I will argue that early hours Neku in the first 12 is way more of an hassle than. Remember, he even tried to kill Shike at one point.
And I called him out for that too.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing: like, you seem to not be. You seem to be fine with it by the end of the game.
Oh no, I still didn't like it.
I feel like I feel like you have a very low tolerance towards protagonists who do unlikable things.
Which,
let's just say I've seen it botched so many times that I've lost trust in people being able to do it properly.
I will say this, tropes are just tools. They are not supposed to be an automatic disqualification of something. As much as I do not like the liar... As much as I do not like liar reveal, I'm not going to automatically say that something is bad because it's using liar reveal. Like,
I mean, lots of us have tropes that we don't like no matter how well it's done.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying it's like, well, we should never let it disqualify something automatically in our minds. Like, I will groan at certain bouts or tropes I don't like. Doesn't mean I will automatically write them off. Like, for a keen example, I recall you liking Emperor's New Groove. And that was a Disney movie that took the risk of making its main protagonist an absolute asshole. In fact, arguably kind of the villain before Yzma usurped him, since he was pretty much going to demolish Pacha's village just for a literal water park.
Well, I don't share Tech's opinion, and I'm just guessing. If I had to, hazard a guess, I think Grievous just wants to have possibly a more pleasurable experience with the plot.
That's fair. Like, and
I mean, this is the first game in the series. You know what first impressions? How important first impressions can be. If the first impression of somebody is just a giant twat, and he's supposed to be the protagonist, the guy we hang out the most with, the most stuck with in the story, my problems are probably not going to like it very much.
My problem with that position is that you're basically putting writers in a position where the protagonist must always be a goody two-shoes, no matter what.
I literally said earlier, I think it should be a goody two-shoes.
Well, but there's the thing, Dwebs. Like, there's
two different extremes.
Well, can you specify then? Where do you draw the line exactly? Because the way you're phrasing it, kind of
when he's all just wide, googly-eyed, going, ooh.
I mean, I don't know. It feels to me like...
I don't really get that inkling from
And you know my... and for the other extreme, you know my... I've already mentioned Hook, so...
Again, like, okay, I didn't agree with you on Hook either, but when it comes to Ratchet, yeah, he has some moments of being a jerk, but it's not like he's a jerk 24/7. Like, again, to his credit, he does snark and act the smart aleck a bit, but it's not like he is constantly going on about how it's bad. Now he is berating Clank, but again, to his credit, this is like literally after they nearly died because of an idea that was Clank's, essentially. Like, and I'm gonna be real.
I've heard better snark.
Anyway, I think also one of the important factors to consider is that this is technically the first major game that Insomniac was doing after the Spyro trilogy, where they have to actually write a more consistent, and even if it's not super complex, technically a more complex type of plot for its games. And this is way before we started to have an actual good writer on the team with TJ Fixman. So I get the idea, simply put. Also, this might be just them having a good idea on paper and not having the best writer for the situation.
Personally, I think it's fine, but I will agree, it's not like,
Let me use this occasion to actually check the writer. Go on.
Like,
It's
okay,
like the
it's
first
not
Spyro.
Go on, Drover.
it's not the most spectacular story, but I feel like while it has basic plot points or story beats, I feel like it executes them fine. Now, I will grant this. Your mileage may vary on some of these things. Maybe Ratchet is a bit of a jerk, but I will argue that given its start, its middle, and ending, it all does come together for the basic plot, essentially, of two people, you know, opposites attract and everything, like, essentially a buddy cop thing, where you got some bickering, of course, because the two are at odds, but ultimately they will come together, look past their differences, maybe some apologies will be shared, essentially, and things come together just fine.
Anyway,
look at the first Toy Story, where Woody and Buzz have occasions where each of them try to kill the other at separate occasions.
Could you imagine if they'd kept that
original
Black Friday.
thing?
Oh yeah, well,
Friday thing.
Oh yeah, obviously, but the thing with
that would definitely have been the moment where the story would have just died.
Well, obviously. See, let me use an example regarding something like, let's use Dr. Lautrec, for example. My problem with Dr. Lautrec being an asshole in this game is that very rarely does the plot call him out. Even when they do call him out on it, nothing comes of it. You know,
right.
I never feel any growth on part of his character. And it's one of those things where he's an asshole at the beginning, and he's just as much of an asshole at the end of it.
Lautrec runs off of that ideal of he's a jerk with a heart of gold.
Not just that, Joe, but he's insufferable genius. Supposedly his intellect, and his outsmarting of his opponents should theoretically compensate for that.
Blasted thing, it won't budge. I've tried everything I know short of nuclear weaponry. No, never mind.
Well, you tried. See ya.
Not so fast, soldier. You're going into that compound even if I have to throw you.
Basically, we need a new type of shoes to actually get across the ravine in order to, open up the bridge, which we don't have right now. So, again, it's basically the game telling you to come back here
By
later.
making it this far, soldier. And for that, I reward you. I intercepted this communique that you might find useful. Take it. I'm off to find my battalion. Good luck.
Hello once again, fellow Blarg. I hope this message finds you well. As many of you know, our home planet is no longer habitable. We've abandoned our
Specifically about the native planet of Blargs, which is not exactly in a great shape.
Fortunately,
remember, they're abandoning their planet and taking over others for a reason. Hey, Neo.
Which is nearing completion. Once our scientists locate the ideal orbit, our new world will be perfect.
Please ignore the robot pointing a gun at this guy's head.
Again, that's the part of the humor, classic level humor
Why
used
we
for
must
this
stop
franchise.
him. He won't rest until he has destroyed every planet in the galaxy.
Yeah? Well, I got bigger fish to fry.
Bigger than the galaxy?
Well, different fish anyway. Look, didn't that commando guy say we could get into that compound?
Yes, by using the ventilation shaft. But we will need something special to walk on that.
Fine, let's get going then. We'll come back later.
Alright.
Funny enough, there are similarities between this and Spyro. Game where the main protagonist got recasted in the sequel and has a very interesting personality.
Anyway, the writers for these games are a duo, Brian Hastings and John Lally, which wrote together this game and, if I recall correctly, the fourth... No, actually no. Brian Hastings went on to write the fourth game in the series, Deadlocked or Gladiator, depending on how it's called, and then was an additional writer for the first Resistance Fall of Man, and then helped TJ Fixman a bit along the way. John Lally instead, helped writing the following two games after this, Going Commando, or 2, and Up Your Arsenal, or 3, as it's called. So basically, this was basically their major first work as writers. So yeah, it's basically what I said, and also partially what we've said. Inexperience.
It's all about productivity. Is this productive to... Because, like, going back to my example with Neku, like, if we made Neku a likable character at the beginning of the plot, then basically the whole plot stops making sense, basically, because the whole point of the first Twelly is Neku's character development.
I will say, to Dwibs' credit, it wasn't like Neku was devoid of any positive qualities whatsoever. Like, he was definitely a jerk, but he didn't feel like
his
a
plight
villain,
felt more understandable because he's literally a teenager that is told that he's dead, and if he wants to get out, he has to kill someone else.
Well, it was that, but there was also the fact that he went from seemed like a bit of a leap from angsty teenager to suddenly nearly killing somebody. That's a bit of a jump.
Literally, Uzuki literally told him, "You either kill her or I kill you." What is he supposed to do, Dwibs? Is he supposed to just...
Oh, these have a bit more fault than just undefined killing them.
Well, Dwibs, you're kind of forgetting that everything was being rushed on him at that moment, and he's just a teenager.
Yeah,
and
not only... not only did she give him that, she gave him 30 seconds to decide. He has literally no time to think this through. Literally no time. So, I mean, come on, like, it's a situation where, like, if you're telling me, Dwibs, that like if you were put into that specific decision and with only 30 seconds to decide, and your decision, and you would have be completely cold thinking, and you would have no problems with that, I admire you, because I don't think I would be able to be so rational in that moment, to be honest with you. Go on.
It's like...
Well, we're all wired differently, aren't we?
Well, it's like Tio said, in spite of Neku's flaws, he was relatable in a sense.
Like he said, like he said towards the final thoughts, at the very least, you know, his type of, you know, more realistic type of reaction is a fresh breath of fresh air, compared to Sora's more like, yeah, let's go there, let's see what happens, usual reaction.
I didn't. Okay, let me just get this straight. I don't really like that kind of character either.
Anyway,
the opposite extreme.
It's like I'll tell you this much, Dwibs. Like, if you're telling me that in Neku's situation you would have been able to perfectly decide with no problem, okay, I guess. But I'm gonna tell you that I have a hard time believing that you would be able to do that so easily. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying I'm not convinced that you would be able to do it so easily, honestly, because I don't think anyone would.
Anyway, so what are we doing here, Tio?
Well, for now, blasting just the doors. And the only thing that I wanted to mention noteworthy was that we got a new weapon, the Devastator, which is your rocket launcher. Again, you just don't call a rocket launcher, but a Devastator because it sounds cooler. Shut up.
I see that you seem preferential towards the flamethrower and the essential machine gun.
The flamethrower is a good crowd control, especially for the smaller enemies, while the blaster is actually more good at actually, you know, taking down the enemies more properly as a traditional type of gun. But you know, a lot of the weapons are perfectly serviceable. For example, the drones here. Anyway, again, the only thing that I could mention is that again, you can make potentially an argument that rather than, you know, looking at it as an in-universe thing, you know, you can make an argument when saying that, you know, in that case, it's the writers creating a deliberately, you know, no-win scenario to force, you know, a very expectable outcome as a result, you know. So ideally, the way to quote-unquote fix the problem will not have to be what you would do in this situation, but should the situation be potentially changed in a way that reflects still, you know, the situation without coming across as too impulsive, you know.
Like I said, for me, honestly, if I were to judge this off of their writing experience or lack thereof, I'd say that for a first start, and mind you, I've seen the story all the way through, I'd say that the story is overall good. I mean, it's not perfect, and it's not the ultra best, but I feel like it gets the plot beats down overall well here and there. I do feel like when it comes to how much you're okay with Ratchet being a jerk and whatnot, that is going to come down to your mileage may vary, which I guess one could argue that's ultimately how we all feel about any story, but I do feel like Ratchet being a jerk is an essential part of the story, essentially. Which is arguably proven because trying to remove that quality makes the story way less interesting. Thanks a lot, 2016 reimagining, for proving that. But again, I digress though. Ratchet being a jerk is an essential part of the story, and it personally does not bug me because, yes, he says some stuff that is nasty, but it never feels like it goes into outright malicious territory, essentially. But again, even with that being about it, your mileage may vary, I would still argue it's an essential part of the story, and honestly actually does help show how their bond is later solidified for sequels, especially.
I can't see a thing in this helmet.
You will see later glimpse how it's used, the power cell and gone.
While the execution may not be perfect, like Jova said, it's something that I will argue makes you appreciate the later games better, because you can see, because now with hindsight you can see how far the characters have become since this first game. So it also helps the future games in that regard.
I will say this. Oh, go on.
It's one of those things where, again, a character can be unlikable as long as it's productive to the story. And since the big part of the story is indeed Ratchet's lesson in humility, plus of course Clank's bond with Ratchet, it does help that they start out from and they have a low point, so that it gives the point where they do settle their differences actually have meaning. Because if we didn't have these bits, then the climax wouldn't really feel earned. Go ahead.
Like, let's also keep in mind, this is, as far as we know, the first day these guys know each other. Like, you tend to be tighter with people you've known longer than just a day, so them having a bit of a tense relationship in the midst of all this craziness happening, I feel also helps show how they would later have a stronger bond. Like, I'd rather they be having their bigger arguments at this point of their relationship, instead of one of those stupid drama things where, oh, even though we've bonded for many games and many sequels, oh, suddenly here's the fight that may break us up, essentially.
Oh, you mean the average Ruby season? Anyway, tune in for the next part where we actually get to the home planet of the Blarg. See you for that.